Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this, my wonderful friend, is episode 346. Or if you're a Mind Mastery member, this is 435. So it's really cool. Last night, having just got off the Facebook Live, I got notified that someone commented on one of those anniversaries on LinkedIn. And it was crazy cool because the notification was that I've actually been doing hypnosis for 16 years. Now that is crazy and it blows my mind. And what I find really important about that is that when you decide to do something, when you decide that you want more, you want to make a change, you never know where your life will take you. You see, I started out at 18 years old. Okay, 18 years old, I started seeing clients. So very young, I had even issues about that at the time, about what people thought of me as an 18-year-old. But the interesting thing is no one really cared about the age. They cared more about my enthusiasm. And I got into hypnosis via a very selfish reason. You see, if you know me by now, I used to have crazy anxiety. I used to blush all the time, have social anxiety, I used to be terrible at school, and I just lived in constant fear and dread each and every day. It was horrible for me. So, having tried lots of different things, and even almost given up thinking that this is who I was just an anxious person. That is who I am, and I'm going to be like that for the rest of my life. I almost played into that role as being, I am anxious, I am depressed, I am going to never get anywhere in my life. Because the anxiety and the core issue, my limiting belief about myself, really did have an impact on my health, my relationships. Throughout school, I was a D and an E student, even an F student, right? And I dropped out of college, and I really put it down to my anxiety. My anxiety in myself, or my low self-belief in myself, held me back, not just on an internal level, but it stopped me go for any opportunity. Because the way the mind works is you're deleting and distorting and generalizing information based on how you perceive the world around you. And we delete information, like deleting opportunities, or distort our potentiality or how we see ourselves in our mind. We over-exaggerate certain things, whether it be feelings or imagining what people are thinking about ourselves, or generalize situations. So if it happened once in the past, we go, oh my goodness, I'm always going to be like this, or I'm always going to fail in this situation, or always people think that I'm a anxious person, even within myself. And it's really dictated by our belief systems. So the belief systems that you're experiencing make up your world. You have different ones from my own. You have different ones from your partner, from your children. Think about it. Maybe as a child, you had the belief system that anything was possible, that you could be, do, and have whatever you wanted. Maybe if you have children, they have that, but maybe now as an adult, we've been just programmed and hypnotized by events, the events that we go through, which have began to distort your own reality filter. And at that point in my life, before I got into hypnosis, I was just focused on trying to make a change in my life. It was never, ever going to be about helping other people. It just wasn't in my mind. How can you help someone if you got your own issues, right? Now, it's not to say coaches and hypnotherapists don't have issues in that situation, but to a deal, right? They've resolved a big amount, or they have the skills and the tools to let go. I mean, you don't want to really see a weight loss coach if they are overweight. You don't want to be hiring a personal trainer if that person never works out themselves. It's just one of those things. As a therapist, you want to be able to get things covered, and I really wanted to focus on myself, and then having experienced the transformation, like this remarkable transformation, it didn't happen overnight. It actually took time, right? If anyone says it's going to happen overnight, although it can happen, more often than not, you've got to work for your desires. You got to invest money into it, right? I mean, I invested money in reading, in going on trainings, and seriously, I've probably spent about £100,000 or $125,000 or whatever the equation would be over the last 15 years, at the very least, because I've seen the value in that. And I didn't know it at the time, but I realized, the critical thing that you must really understand is that no one's going to do something for you. And we are sometimes our greatest enemy. In fact, you probably won't even treat your best friend the way that you treat yourself, right? You probably wouldn't even treat your enemy like sometimes you treat yourself, because you're maybe belittling yourself. Maybe you're thinking that, why am I so stupid, or why is this happening? Because when we get caught in that mindset, you are going to remain stuck. But sometimes things have to get really bad, and it got really bad for me at one point. Every area of my life was not going the way I wanted to, and then I really made that decision that no one's going to help me. Back then, the internet was young, and there weren't apps, there weren't all these resources online and this technology right now to be able to get a free hypnosis track or to get onto something like mind mastery and things like that. It was really, really hard back then. So I had to struggle, but it came from the decision that I had to change. I had to be the person who was going to make the change. And I should not rely on anyone. Yeah, get help from people, but I'm not going to put the ownership on someone else to get my result. Because it's like just trying to win the lottery. You're just giving your power away, and the odds aren't that great. But if you bet on yourself, you bet on the one thing that you can control, which is you, which is your mind. Ultimately, you have to make life your priority of getting back on track. You assume that control, rather having reasons and excuses. And yeah, don't get me wrong, you've probably been through a load of terrible times. People have probably been crazy, mean, or horrible and done terrible things to you in the past. But holding on to those reasons, holding on to those excuses, in fact, even holding on to anger and resentment toward those people or toward your past will only keep you stuck, and it will only give you validation for why you are like you are. It doesn't matter who did what, it doesn't matter about the economy, no matter what happened. If you hold on to that resentment, or you hold someone accountable despite having done something mean to you, that means you're only allowing that person or that situation to change you. Now, the chances are that's not going to happen, right? Someone's not going to, I always say about my teacher who really had a big impact on my life when it came to anxiety and public speaking, making me stand up in front of everyone. If I just held her accountable, that means I got to track her down 20 years later of changing me. Wouldn't have happened, right? But one thing I can count on is myself. And the interesting thing is that if I consider my issue, if I consider the darkness which was within me, the deep fear and worries and doubts, they became my greatest companion, my greatest instigator, my greatest awakener, because if I were not to have those issues, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. So in other words, I would not have got my work into 218 countries, having on the podcast, and there's just the podcast and YouTube, over 8 million views and downloads combined. I mean, that blows my mind. 15 years, and obviously think how long the podcast and the app's been around for. That is crazy to realize that my own issue allowed me to actually shine brighter and to follow my passion and my purpose. Not going just for money. Obviously, I gotta get paid, right? This service, I mean, I was totaling up how much thousands I spend a month on keeping apps and businesses, systems alive and things like that. It's crazy the amount that I spend a month on it. But I do not regret it one bit, and it's not to impress you, but more to impress upon you that when you realize that you should be betting on yourself, that when you take ownership and you realize that the issues you have right now could be your greatest instigator to inspire many people, or even just your children, your partner, your boss, and all those things, to see how powerful you can be, the ripples will go far and wide. I mean, I've been thinking about what I want as a legacy, right? I want to be someone who's made a change in the world. I want to be someone who is committed to helping people as much as I possibly can with the resources that I possess in any given moment. Now, I want you to consider that. I mean, think about it. We always have two choices, two paths. We got the path of staying the same, remaining stuck, or the path where we begin to create the future that we desire. And it all starts in this present moment. The power to transform your life takes one moment to make a stand for what is right. And if you go down that right path, the path which is of change, through time, you will be able to have the most remarkable life you can ever imagine. The learnings that you will receive from your issue will actually benefit you in all future situations. Those learnings will keep you safer and better than any old behavior that you would have let go of, or that you would have chosen to remain the same. You see, those learnings keep you safe. The issue, people think, I mean, even biologically, your unconscious mind thinks that the anxiety is there to protect you, but it's outgrown, it's unwarranted, it's inappropriate. But when you learn from it and you let go and you hustle down on doing what you love, that is where the change happens. People usually email me. There's two types of people, more often than not. Those who just want something for free and they want it quick, or those who are willing to invest time, maybe even money, to make the change. It takes commitment. Like, I didn't get good at hypnosis in one hypnosis training. In fact, I learned far more from the practice of hypnosis, where it be with my friends, my family members, non-paying clients, paying clients, whatever it is, doing podcasts, doing audios. The practice is the most important thing. So Melissa does yoga, right? And they call it like a practice. This is your today's practice in the yoga session, right? And I love that because it's like, as a teacher, as a student, it is a practice for that yoga session. That yoga lesson session is a practice. And you will be different from moment to moment, from session to session, lesson to lesson, because you are always practicing. And what I find is people do not practice enough. And I've researched hundreds and hundreds of the most successful people I know personally, or even through autobiographies and documentaries. They have habits. They have simple strategies that they do over and over again to get the result that they truly desire, and then it becomes on autopilot. Because in the beginning, right, you don't know, maybe you got an issue, or you've got the issue but you don't know you can change. So we're incompetent at even knowing we've got the issue. We're unconscious to it, right? But then one day you wake up and go, goodness gracious, I hate this issue. And now you are consciously incompetent. So you're conscious that you got an issue, but you're incompetent of how to let it go, right? And that is where most people can be. And most people are living in the darkness of that, and that's where they resign, which I almost resign to, thinking this is how my lot is in life, there's who I'm gonna be forever, and I might as well just give up. But then you've got the other people who move from that place, and they start to become consciously competent at doing something. Like learning to ride a bike, you were terrible at first. Like learning to walk, you were terrible at that. As a child, trust me, you were terrible at learning to walk. Like you didn't do it very well. But after time, what happens? It becomes more natural. People say it becomes second nature. Really, it's just becoming unconscious in a habit. If you do something over and over again with consistency, you will become and develop a habit in whatever you're doing. Whether that be something great or something very bad, like if you do practice anxiety over and over again, if you have that constant thought or that constant belittling, that will be ingrained and become second nature and become unconscious. If you go ahead and do the opposite and put good habits into your life each and every single day, it is a journey, it is a lifestyle, it is a practice that will then cement into your unconscious mind. You see, when I get issues now, because I'm human, I am human, and I realize I've now got the tools to deal with my own stuff. I've got the tools because I've hustled down and I've learned the strategies, and I teach those strategies in this podcast, whether it be through hypnosis or my own processes, even things like NLP or coaching or whatever it is, my personal truth. Or within Mind Mastery, which is really the step-by-step process, because you've got to go through it in a sequential way for the best results. It is a practice. It's a discipline, but a discipline which should not come from, what's the word I'm thinking for? It shouldn't come from annoyance. It shouldn't come from frustration. It should be something that you love to do and you enjoy discovering more about yourself. You enjoy getting better and learning because it means you're getting better at relationships. You're connecting with your spouse. You're connecting to your partner. You're connecting to your customers or as a business owner. You are becoming more you than ever before, and that should be your number one passion in life. Improving, learning, and growing, because if you're not growing, you're staying the same or getting worse. So I made that decision to start to grow myself first. And from that, although it was hard, it was like a seed in the soil. I was moving, I was growing, I didn't know what way was up or down or left. But after that consistent pushing up and up and up, or what I thought was up, you break through the surface. You begin to see the light, and then you start to get stronger and blossom fully and completely into who you were born to be. And I really believe you, my friend, you have so much to offer in every area of your life. You have so much love to give and to be love. You have so much compassion and passion, purpose, excitement to experience each and every day. But we have to let go of those reasons and excuses. We have to decode our perception, to let go of those deletions, to let go of the distortions, to let go of the generalizations, to let go of the limiting beliefs and our emotional scars, to be the best version of us we can be. And remember, don't always think about the big goal. You see, I never thought my big goal was never to hit the 8 million downloads or views, right? That wasn't my goal. What was my goal, do you think? It was just to be me and to speak my personal truth. And when I tap into and I'm tuned into to what I feel is best, like the one feeling which makes me have joy in my world. Now, I wish, in fact, that I could do more podcasts for you. I wish I could actually create more content for you. But at the moment, I mean, obviously I'm like a 1.5 man band in my business. I haven't got to that level, which is definitely getting there. But I'm been focusing on all the strategies, all the systems to keep the business running, you see. Doing more of a businessman type of thing, right? Now, I also understand that if I could, I would be just operating from that pure creating audios for you guys, or videos, or systems and things like that. But it's something that has to happen slowly. Like right in the beginning, I had to just tap into my passion or purpose as the main thing. So although it's still hard at times, it's still a journey, it's still a challenge trying to grow and help as many people in the world as possible, while still having the balance between the finance costs and the ins and the outs and everything like that. Is still something like I'm juggling with. But the main thing I try to keep my eye on is trying to feel how I'd like to feel more often than not. I think of what I want, and then I think, well, what feeling will that give me? And then I operate at that feeling. If you didn't hear that, just replay that 30 seconds. That's like one of the secrets to life. You have to consider what you want and notice the feeling it will give you having achieved it, and then operate from that feeling. And that is what I try to do. My passion, my purpose, to help as many people as possible. And then guess what happens? Then the numbers count up. Now, of course, if I've done 435 episodes on mind mastery and also 346, now if you just do the math of just like what each one is average, a good 20 minutes each, at just even the 346, that is 70,000 minutes, right? 70,000 minutes of work, if my math is correct. And that means that's 1,152 hours of practicing my craft, practicing and speaking my truth for free. So let's just say 1,100 hours of just practicing and doing this for free. But it's been my passion to help those. And then what comes about is, hopefully, my faith is that it's going to come back to me in some way. So where it be like the financial abundance to then be able to produce more and to give more to those who really need it. And that is something which I really believe to be true, and it's paying off that way. Yeah, there's still more to grow and to more people to reach, but if you think about it, if I was just focused on the outcome of, say, the 8 million, then I'd be overwhelmed, I'd self-sabotage, I think I'm never gonna get there. If I just focused on the 1,152 hours of content I've got to create, I would never get there. I'd have stopped before I even started. But I focused on what was right, what I really wanted. I took responsibility to do a bit each and every day to get myself to where I wanted to be. So realize, assume that responsibility, put your focus on what you want, and then take massive and inspired action on what you want, but operate from that feeling. It is all within us. And because of this, and like I said, I'm not trying to impress you, but to impress upon you, I did fall into this. But it took great commitment to practice my craft. Notice I said practice again, over and over again, to become a habit. Because the full loop is, as I was going through all the entrepreneurs, all the change makers, all the people who I love and respect who is successful, they have this simple practice. They have step-by-step systems that get them what they want, daily practices. And that is like within Mind Master, we have our Create Your Days, because it sets you up to get what you want on autopilot. And when you start to install those strategies, as you allow this to be your practice, your lifestyle of transformation, you too will transform. Whether it be having your own business, having the financial freedom to travel around the world, to find the soulmate of your dreams, to finally release that excess weight you no longer want, to be able to get exactly, to be, do, and have all that you want. But it comes from that decision that it's all on you, and that's good news. When you assume that responsibility, if you take on my advice, if you appreciate this and you absorb it in, you will see massive changes. And my always hope is, if you're not able to maybe invest in contributing to this purpose of mine to help as many people as possible, do the very least of just sharing and leaving and writing a review on the podcast, on the app, on the Android, the iPhone, and things like that. Because when you share, we can help more together, and that means you're a part of this team I'm trying to create out there. Because I believe in you. I believe that you're worthy. I believe you're good enough. And even if you don't believe that in yourself, I believe that. And no, as I said, I fell into this. I was broken. I felt like I was broken. I felt like I was unfixable. But that wake-up call for me, that epiphany, was actually, I might as well go ahead and go all out. Invest in myself, invest in my time to be able to make my life better, because we only have one more life. Well, this life, sorry, unless you believe in multiple lives and things like that, which is all cool, whatever your perception is. But this is your personal truth. But if I think about just this life, okay, the one thing I can't get back is time. Like, I can get back confidence, I can get back weight loss, I can get back financial abundance, I can keep on earning money because it will always replenish if I've got a full-time job or if I've got my own business. That always comes back. Most things do come back to you. But time is the one thing that doesn't. It's always ticking away, and I really feel that is important as a driving force for me to be able to help those who need it, who are willing to take action in that moment to make that change. I love people who are willing to get what they want. Yeah, they might need my help, whether it be directors, movie people, athletes, or just people in their own business. I work with lots of entrepreneurs, you see, or business owners, and also people who with just like anxiety and confidence and things like that. I love people who are willing to step up and be counted for, to join my community, or to just make a stand for what is right. There's no point playing small, right? We know that quote. There's no point playing small. We should be really reflecting on what is good and what is right. I mean, there's my journey. There's my personal truth of 15 years of doing what I'm doing. Having started at 18, which I always forget my age. I think I'm 34. That's like something I've dedicated my life to, and I continue to dedicate. I never want the podcast to go away. I never want the app to go away. I just want to be able to contribute more. Because through contribution from the frequency of passion and purpose, your life will transform. Yes, we have to undo and let go of those limiting beliefs and conflicts, and that's why we have hypnosis tracks here. We've got all these free episodes, or for the edge, you got the mind mastery, or you got the retreats that I run, or the trainings that I run to do what I do. There's always avenues, from free to small investment like mind mastery to bigger investment like in-person events, but there's always an option. But there's only one defining factor, which is yourself and your own ability to take responsibility, to have focus, to take massive inspired action, and to do whatever it takes. Why? Because it will allow you to feel good. When you feel good, you will do good, and you will get good back in return. Very, very simple. When you feel good, you will do good, and you'll get good back into return. You see, when you're feeling good, you take inspired action on what you want. And when you take inspired action, you get results. Not always the great ones, but you keep doing it and you learn and you grow from each one until you get to what you want. It's a practice that I do each and every day. Like every day when I wake up, I listen to my Create Your Own Day track because it puts me in state. And one thing which Melissa says to me is like, I don't know how you can like do so much in one day with the time that you have, like working 12-hour days sometimes and then doing so much. And I really believe it's because I've got that strategy inside of me, which I set up right in the beginning in my morning. And you'll notice if you read biographies, they have that strategy. They have that ability to be able to start something step by step and do it throughout the day. And I put it down to that. So get that strategy. There's always strategies available. And once again, I really hope that you enjoy what I've done over the last 16 years. I know I've had fun. I know I don't get to hear from you because if you think about it, if we've had 8 million downloads, we've only probably got like 200 reviews on the American App Store when it comes to the podcast. So there's a big discrepancy between the percentage there. So I don't know if you're really enjoying my stuff. Maybe you're listening to it and you're hating it, but you keep listening to it over and over again anyway. But if you are enjoying what I've done today, if you're enjoying what I'm trying to build up to and contribute to, leave a review on the podcast. Subscribe on the iTunes podcast because the algorithms are reviews, ratings, and subscriptions. If we just have views, it counts for nothing. Like the 8 million count for nothing. But if you listen, download, of course, you are then subscribing. If you'd go ahead and do that and leave a rating and review, then the algorithm's got a tick, and a tick. Like the rating and review, the download, as well as the subscription on the podcast, specifically on the iTunes, or on top of that, doing a podcast review, then the algorithm puts you up there, and that means other people can get the 346 episodes. I see podcasts, by the way, out there with only like 10 episodes, and I'm like, how are they like number 4 in the charts? And I'm way not even in the charts most of the time. But if you are enjoying it, please go ahead and do that at the very least, because it just shows that we can help more people. Just tell me in the review what you've learned, what you got value from this, because that also inspires me. It inspires me to know that you're getting value. The stats, the 8 million, although it's like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but that means nothing because there's no context to it. There's no content. Sorry, there's a context of the 8 million, but there's no content of what that has happened or allowed someone to experience. So leave a review on the iTunes podcast. Leave a rating and subscribe, because that means I know that you're enjoying this, because there's been times when I've kind of stopped doing it and focused on other systems because I want to make sure that you're enjoying it. So if you're enjoying it, go ahead and do that. I hope you enjoyed this episode, but always know that you're of value. Always know that I believe in you. I want to be your support. I want to personally coach you if I can, like via mind mastery, but whatever it is, just know that you're profound in every way. And I always think of you so fondly. And I just know that together as a team, we're going to make so much happiness, not only in our lives, but the ripple of just being an example of change or sharing is going to just transform so many people, like people who have been close to the edge, and suddenly your review causes them to listen to one podcast, which makes them just hang on, and then they get into it and they start to live the inspired life. So I want you to be a part of that, and just realize that I appreciate you and love you so much. So have the most wonderful day, and I'll speak to you soon.